For decades, the story of rural economies has kind of been the same. It's always been about attracting something from the outside, a new factory, a big box store, some kind of outside savior. But a really powerful new strategy is flipping that script entirely. So let's dive into this inside-out revolution, a way of thinking that looks inward for the real keys to growth. But first, let's just stop and ask a really basic question. When I say the words rural economy, what's the first image that pops into your head? Come on, be honest. For a lot of us, it's probably a farm, right? Maybe a silo and a big green tractor. And look, while that picture is still a vital part of the story, it's completely out of date. The truth is, the rural economy today is this incredibly complex, diverse, and surprisingly dynamic landscape. So yeah, forget that single image of a farm. When you actually look at the USDA data, it reveals something amazing. Rural America is this patchwork of highly specialized economies. You've got advanced manufacturing hubs in the South, these major energy centers in places like Appalachia, and huge tourism and recreation engines all through the Mountain West. This economic diversity, it isn't just surprising. It's a hidden superpower that we're about to unpack. So if the economy is already so diverse, where does the new growth actually come from? Well, the first pillar of this whole new strategy focuses on the businesses that are already there, the ones that are part of the community fabric. Let this number just sink in for a second. In a whole lot of small towns, 60 to 80% of all net new jobs, they don't come from some new company moving in. Nope, they come from the expansion of the local businesses that are already there. This is the quiet powerhouse of rural job growth. And the strategy to tap into that powerhouse, well, it actually has a name: Business Retention and Expansion, or BRE for short. And this isn't just, passively hoping businesses will stick around. It's a deliberate, proactive effort to help them thrive right where they are. And this is absolutely crucial. BRE is about so much more than just economics. It's about relationships. When a community actively reaches out and listens to its business owners, it sends this incredibly powerful message. That feeling of being valued, of being supported, that's an amazing incentive to invest, to expand, and to stay local. Okay, so that's the theory, but what does this actually look like on the ground, in the real world? For that, we're gonna head to Mason City, Iowa, to see this whole idea put into action. See, the leaders in Mason City, they didn't just sit around and wait for for sale signs to pop up in storefronts. They went out and did over 100 face-to-face visits with local businesses. They just listened. And they started hearing the same things over and over. A shortage of skilled workers, frustrating delays with city permits. But they didn't just listen, they acted. They partnered with the local community college to create new training programs, and they totally fixed their broken permitting process. It just proves that one of the most powerful economic development tools a town has is simply asking, hey, how can we help? Now, as you can imagine, one of the most common hurdles that these conversations uncover is, well, it's a big one: money. Specifically, just getting access to the capital you need to grow and modernize. You see, over the last few decades, big banks have been buying up the small local ones, and now lending decisions are often made hundreds of miles away in some corporate headquarters. To a huge bank, a small rural project can just seem too risky, or honestly too small to even bother with. So communities are getting creative. They're building their own financial tools, like revolving loan funds, where every time a loan gets paid back, that money is recycled right back into the community to fund the next project. And this isn't just some nice feel-good idea. It gets very real results. Just take a look at Redwood County, Minnesota. By creating their own revolving loan fund, this mostly agricultural community was able to finance 38 different local business projects. Everything from a metal fabrication shop to a new bakery right on Main Street. And the result? Over 120 local jobs were either created or saved. I mean, in a small community, that is a massive impact, and it was driven entirely from within. Okay, so supporting the businesses you already have creates a stable foundation. That's pillar number one. But a truly healthy economy also needs new ideas, right? That brings us to the second pillar of this inside-out revolution: nurturing that spark of local entrepreneurship. Now check this out, because this chart reveals a really stunning shift. In the most remote counties in the US, more than half of all new jobs now come from entrepreneurs and small businesses, not from large corporations. That startup culture we always associate with big cities, it's actually the main engine of job creation on Main Street now. It's happening because technology has just lowered the barrier to entry, letting local ideas reach a global market like never before. But here's the thing, rural entrepreneurship kind of plays by a different set of rules. It's not usually about venture capital and explosive, fast growth. It's about leveraging a totally different set of strengths. Way lower costs, deep community ties where your reputation is basically your currency, and building a sustainable business that's based on authentic local assets, from the landscape to the local culture. For a perfect example of this in action, let's head out to White Sulphur Springs, Montana. We're talking about a town with a population of less than 1,000 people. So here, a woman named Sarah Calhoun started a company called Red Ants Pants, making durable workwear for women. But she didn't just build an online store, she built an entire ecosystem. She started a music festival that brings thousands of people and their money to town every single summer. Then she created a foundation that invests money back into other rural projects in Montana. It's not just a business, it's this multi-role community institution, and it proves how one great idea can have these incredible ripple effects. And the lesson here is just so profound. Rural entrepreneurs can win by taking something authentically local. In this case, a brand that celebrates rural craftsmanship and using modern tools to reach a global audience, all while making their own hometown stronger. So, when you put these two pillars together, supporting the businesses you have and nurturing the new ones, what you get is a powerful, brand new playbook for rural economic development. This slide right here, this really captures the whole revolution in a nutshell. It's about moving away from that old model of smokestack chasing, trying to lure one single big outside company to town. The new way is all about cultivating a diverse garden of many small local businesses and investing in the talent you already have. And these two strategies, they work hand in hand. They're like a 1-2 punch. BRE creates that stable economic foundation. It keeps Main Street healthy, and it keeps people employed. And then entrepreneurship acts as the catalyst, building on that stable base with new ideas, new energy, and new ways to grow. One creates resilience, the other drives renewal. But ultimately, this is about so much more than just economic policy. It's a fundamental shift in mindset. It's the difference between waiting around for a savior to show up and realizing that the power to build a better future, it's already right there, inside the community. So we'll end on this thought. For generations, we've been taught to look outward for opportunity. But this whole inside-out revolution asks a very different question. What if a community's greatest economic asset isn't something it needs to attract, but something and someone it simply needs to recognize?